Welcome, everybody. Thank you. Oh, thank you for that applause. We're so grateful to have you with us. And okay, now you guys are getting a little bit crazy. That's enough now. It's probably because they recognize my guest, Kimberly Quinn. I'm so enthusiastic. And let me tell you, I'm your host for Different Thinking for Different Times. And this podcast has always been about expanding your thinking, helping you expand your thinking from what I call the small minded acorn brain and expanding into limitless thinking. And Kimberly does work on the ideas of scarcity and helping people overcome whatever they think is scarce in their life. And she has a fascinating background, and she has a podcast called Mindcraft. She's the host of Mindcraft, and you have to listen to that because it'll help you in so many areas expand from small minded ideas, lack thinking, scarcity thinking. I like to separate those two words and expand into what's possible in a universe, limitless. And so, with that, Kimberly, welcome and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to this
Well, thank
work.
you. Thank you, Steve. I'm super stoked to be here. And how I came to this work, I think this work came to me, to be honest with you. It's kind of my authentic purpose. I'm just driven on high octane passion. And so I kind of landed here. But I teach currently at Champlain College in Burlington, Vermont. I've done lots of things before that. But I came up with the course Mindcraft years ago, kind of in response to seeing the anxiety and depression rates of our young adults kind of go through the ceiling. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of was the
Mm-hmm.
sort of response to that, because Mindcraft is about becoming the boss of your brain and learning how to live your best life. So it's kind of like a
Yeah.
thoroughbred horse, running around the track, and we're the little jockey, sort of steering that magnificent organ we call the brain, and really that's it. It's about living your best life.
I love that analogy because I've done work research with what Gurdjieff has said over the years. George Ivanovich Gurdjieff talked about the machine, that little voice. Will you let the machine run you or will you run it? And the jockey on the horse is a great picture for people to get that we can get there. And so when you think about the ways that you've helped people get there and what's the process been like?
Well, it's been amazing. I teach Gen Zs right now, and so as I'm sure you're aware. I mean, Mindcraft itself is actually an online course anybody can reach. I'll give you the link later, but that's
Oh yeah.
ageless. But
Yeah.
currently, because there's anxiety and depression is ageless, right? Although
Mm-hmm.
Gen Zs, are basically the most anxious and depressed generation of young adults, the United States has ever seen. So that's kind of been my niche. What's that been like?
Yeah.
It's been very, very rewarding, eye opening, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just actually tons of fun to teach these young adults to become the boss of their brain. That's what Mindcraft's about, and that each and every
Mm-hmm.
thought we think expands. So whether it's a positive thought or a negative thought, it's going to expand. And then there's that 17-second rule thing, where if we allow that thought
Mm-hmm.
to linger more than 17 seconds, we can still get rid of it, but it's going to be more of a heavy lift versus if we nip it in the bud, it's a little bit easier to lift. And that's also true in the positive sense, Steve, right? Like, because each of my
Yeah.
Mindcrafters, they keep a gratitude journal every single day. And so they
Mm-hmm.
write, I am grateful for, my golden retriever, my family, my health, my hot tea, whatever. And then
Mm-hmm.
after about 21 days, that's about as long as it takes a habit to shift and stick. A lot of people think habits are made
Mm-hmm.
and broken, but that's not true. They shift and stick. Then that same thing I mentioned with
Mm-hmm.
the 17 seconds too, that works with gratitude. So it's not just getting rid of a negative thought. It's if you can get a
Mm-hmm.
good feeling thought like gratitude to hang around longer than 17 seconds, those new neural
Mm-hmm.
pathways are building and building and strengthening because the brain loves patterns. So Minecraft is largely about building new neural pathways while sort of simultaneously allowing the negative Nelly pathways to fall off the grid because they're not kind of like if you don't use it you lose it, like high school Spanish, right? Well, it's the same
Sure,
thing
sure.
with if we're not using our negativity, it gradually disintegrates.
So what it's kind of like what you feed grows and what you don't feed withers away.
Right, and I explained to them, it's actually very Darwinian. Often referred to as neural pruning. So I'll say to my
Yeah,
young, my 18, 19 year olds, because they're mostly in that age range, it's just like, in April,
yeah.
if your parents go out and, they have you go trim all the dead stuff off the bushes, it's the same thing. It makes, when we trim off
Mm-hmm.
the negative, dendrites off the neurons, then it gives,
Mm-hmm.
a lot more space and room for all that nourishment to grow all the positive neural
Mm-hmm.
pathways.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think too, you mentioned small-minded thinking has a lot to do with how long it sticks around, right? The negative thought is small-minded thinking because it's stuck on there's no way out of this mess. How did I get in this mess, right? That little voice. But 17 seconds, that's an interesting idea to help people shift from it, right? If they can catch it and move into something they're grateful for or something they appreciate about their life, or maybe looking for, hey, what's the gift in this, right? Maybe another question that helps develop neural pathways. Now, has there been research on that?
Oh, loads. A lot of people think and actually my doctorate's in cognitive psychology. So Steve, I could talk about neurons all day long and not have one bored second. So a lot of people think it's just, touchy feely, but actually, if we
Yeah.
put an fMRI on someone's head, we can see this stuff. A lot of people know what an fMRI is. It's that coffin shaped thing that's totally claustrophobic when you blow
Yeah.
out your knee or whatever. I explained to my Minecraft,
Yeah.
there's a little like italics F. I know you know, just in case listeners don't know, because my Minecrafters don't
Yeah.
always
Go ahead.
know. But
Mm-hmm.
it chases around where the most activity in the brain is based on the oxygen it's consuming, the hemoglobin, right? And so we can actually
Mm-hmm.
see where the activity, is more present. So the gratitude thing is real, and also the 21-day thing. That actually, Charles Duhigg. That's the power of habit. Charles Duhigg. After about 21 days is the average amount of time it takes a habit to shift or stick. So average means obviously like starting a new habit of eating a piece of fruit every day is not the same as quitting smoking. So there's hence average.
Mm-hmm.
But I will actually say to my
Mm-hmm.
Minecrafters, about 3 weeks into the course, so let's hear about, who has had noticed more positivity in your day, more things going well. And taught it for years. And typically there are like 5 or 6 hands that like dart in the air. And they'll say, oh my God, they do all the, oh my Godding, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm really starting to see stuff. And that's only what they're aware of, right, Steve? Because a lot of this is in the vault of the unconscious. So the fact that they're able
Yeah.
to notice more positive, there might be let's say there might be some little tiny thing happened in the cafeteria where previously they would have gotten snarky back or whatever. Now they're thinking, they kind of turn the corner and they can see,
Mm-hmm.
like a way away from that, which is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
That's a small win right there.
Mm-hmm. And then over time, does it become more of the natural pattern that they're more naturally positive because they've rewired all this?
Oh, 100%. And I'll tell you, I'll tell you too, Steve, I sort of tailored that from Marty Seligman. I love him. The father of positive psychology. He started, though, I'm sure other people have too, but he's kind of known for starting the gratitude journal thing. But his
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
more involved. And so to make sure college students were actually doing it, the bar was lowered to just, and you need those words for the neurons to get it. It can't just be family dog tea. I am grateful for, I am grateful for. So the neurons get it. But I'll
Right.
tell you, I can't, there's so many times when students have come back after graduating. In fact, I was in the lift line at Stowe a couple years ago, all wrapped up like a burrito. I don't know how he even recognized me. And a student said, Dr. Quinn, Dr. Quinn. And he had graduated, I don't know, a while, like 6 or 7 years. And he kind of wiggled his way, was very polite, and people all let him through and everything. And we ended up riding up the lift
Hmm.
together. And he talked the whole time. Now his mother does the gratitude journal. He's still keeping it after 7 or 8 years, and what a difference it has made in his life, and the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So eventually the brain gets wired, then rewired, right? Like
Yes.
Joe Dispenza says, right? It gets we remind ourselves.
Oh,
Now I
definitely.
want to ask you this. Joe Dispenza said something about up until the age we're 35, for people that don't do any questioning, that basically believe they're thinking, that the subconscious grabs those patterns, those emotional responses. Let's say it's sadness to certain situations, anger, frustration, maybe it's certain people that there's always a reaction to, that the subconscious says, oh, Steve, we know how you react to this. And it goes right into the automatic thought, turns into an automatic response. And it's not what we want 95% of the time because it's from a previous learning. It's I hyphenate re and acting because it's something previously learned. So is that the
Sorry
same
for that.
mechanism that learned how to drive and then it remembered? Is it the same emotionally?
Yes, actually, and you're right about, you and I are both big Joe Dispenza fans. Also, Wayne Dyer says the same thing. And so here's the big message, Steve, is, thoughts come first and feelings second and actions or behaviors last. There's no way around that. We can't have feelings
Yeah,
without thoughts
yeah,
first. Sometimes my students get
yeah.
confused with that, and I'm actually proud of them for it, because they'll think, when they think of automatic behaviors, like going back to check a doorknob or something. But if you think about it, without the brain, unconscious or conscious thinking, you can't have a feeling. So here's the thing, and both Wayne and Joe say this: if we keep thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same feelings, and doing the same things, your life's not going to change. So it's sort of basic logic. So it's not until we really challenge. First, we have to actually sort of allow what's in the vault of the unconscious to surface and question it, and then talk back to it. And I think it's also really important too. Like you were talking about the scarcity mindset earlier, which is one of the big things that people battle every day without even knowing it. Is that it's
Mm-hmm.
what we want to do is not. We want to actually shift into a positive thinking pattern, and not do. Abraham Hicks talks a lot about this. Not shift into, well, I'm not thinking about that anymore, because to make that sort of affirmation, or I'm not thinking about that anymore, actually attracts more neurons together to give you exactly what you don't want. So it's very important to not go the negative route of, I'm not going to do that. Rather, stop giving it attention, because where the focus goes, the energy flows, right? So rather than give all of it that attention,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing that anymore, to actually just,
Mm-hmm.
like, kind of just let go of it and move over
Mm-hmm.
here
Mm-hmm.
to a more prosperity
Mm-hmm.
mindset oriented thought pattern.
Mm-hmm. So that they change their mind from thinking they don't have enough of something to they do have enough of something. Or rather than fight it, I think Eckhart Tolle says, when you fight life, life fights you. Rather than fight the thought, change the thought. And gratitude is, so
Oh,
if people say
100%.
how, you say, write what you're great. I am grateful for, and write that out either at the beginning of a day or the end of a day. Does it matter? Anytime when they get those thoughts, can
I
they
would
can they do
I
that?
would say it does matter. I'm sorry, Steve. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Mm-hmm. No, no, that was
Uh,
it. Yeah.
it I actually do think it matters. I wanted to jump in there
Mm-hmm.
with Carl Jung too. Said something similar. That which we resist will persist. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
it does matter. So what I say to my Mindcrafters with the gratitude journal, I practice gratitude all day long. You can say it, and that's
Mhm.
good, but until it's written, it doesn't have the power. Not, I mean,
Mhm.
it's still better than
Mhm.
not saying grateful things. I do that all day, literally.
Mhm.
I do think it
Yeah.
matters. I tell them that if they're more of a night owl and they do it at night when the day's over, it's definitely better than not doing it at all or doing it
Yep.
twice. But the
Okay.
thing with the beginning of the day is you can prime your day by doing so. So if you're up and you're
Mhm.
right, I am grateful for. I tell you, when I put my tea in the microwave in the morning for 2 minutes, and then I have
Mhm.
three things. Literally, I'm done before it beeps. Like it's so fast. But I think if
Mhm.
you can do it in the morning, it gives you the advantage of steering your day in the right direction because a lot of people think
Mhm.
they wake up and it's just kind of this dice roll how their day unfolds, and that is not true.
Mhm.
Obviously we can't
Mhm.
control the curveballs and who says what snarky thing and all that stuff, but it can really, really,
Mhm.
really, when we set intentions in the beginning of the day, which is something I also do right after my gratitude routine,
Mhm.
we set an intention
Mhm.
and the day will unfold because we're the jockey then. We're in jockey position, and the day is going to unfold the best it can with all that big push of positivity right out of the gate.
So, intentions. What are some intentions that people can set that assist with that positive thinking mindset?
Well, I've got some good answers for that one, Steve. I can tell you what I do. I can tell you what the one I did today, actually, which would include you in this podcast, and also I'm going to dinner later with friends or whatever's going on in that day. A default one for me that I use a lot is my intention is to bring success to everything I do today to the best of my ability. It might be
I
changing
love
our
that.
granddaughter's diaper. It might be a challenging meeting with, somebody's got a little snark on the team at work. They've got
Mhm.
they got some brokenness going on and they're a little toxicity, but
Mhm.
I'm going to
Mhm.
take that on the best I can. Bringing as much, like later with my friends, bring as much life to the party and active listening as I can. So that's a big one for
Mhm.
me. I'm going to be grateful today. I'm going to be mindful, present in my life today. I am going to
Mhm.
be, I intend to do one act of kindness today. That goes on and on.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
That's
so
a
I do that every
powerful
single
intention.
day.
And would you
Yep.
say the one you
Success,
set out with every day again?
bringing success to everything I do. That
Yeah.
was today. And I do that one a lot. And I'm a big, especially if there's something challenging going on, one I often use is I'm going to trust the process today with a capital P. For me, that's God, but if it's universe, source, higher power, whatever, and that's a big
Yeah.
surrender. Just if I've got it doesn't even have to be life or death challenging. It can be something gives you agita, like a meeting with a boss. I don't have that at Champlain actually; they're all really good. But let's just say there's a power differential and that person's toxic, and you have to meet with them,
Mhm.
and you don't have a lot of
Mhm.
leverage or voice because of that. So I'm going to trust the process today, meaning I'm giving it up to whoever that is for you, God, universe, source. That's another one I do.
Mhm.
And I also make it a
Love that
practice, and
one
I
too.
repeat it to my what? Yeah, and sometimes
I
those
said
go
I love
together.
that
I
one
mean,
too.
yeah, there's that, and I have the bar set at do my best, and I try to role model that with my Mindcrafters because I definitely seem to have usually there's at least a solid handful of recovering perfectionists or not recovering, just like digging their claws into perfectionism. And so
Mhm.
we when we set intentions, we talk about having the bar, have them picture they're in college, right? So I say picture a limbo, a
Mhm.
limbo bar. You can do that and have it set and do your best
Mhm.
because that's when we can always adjust. If you wake up, you didn't sleep well, or you caught a germ, or you just had a not so good phone call the night before, or you woke up with
Mhm.
great sleep, hit the ground running, drank some OJ, got a call from your best friend, though you're going to perform differently based on all that stuff. So
That's
it's
true.
really important to adjust that bar. So all of these intentions, whether it's be mindful today as much as possible, whether it's bring success. I'm talking about all the little stuff, conversations, studying, work, partners, whatever it is. That's set the
Yeah.
bar adjustable, given my how I feel today, given this, given that financially I'm down to $5 and that's stressful for me, given all that stuff, do your
Hmm.
best. And then tell yourself
Yeah.
how awesome you are for doing it.
So that's an interesting point. Telling yourself. So is that part of the process to make sure that people tell themselves, like to change or to shift into gratitude? Is it something that's part of the process? Telling themselves.
Um, I wish that sounds so. I think like a directive. I get yeah. I would. I guess it is. I would say I would just reframe, which is a skill I love.
Sure. Yeah.
I spend all day reframing to maybe have a because I think if to come from a place that's more self-love oriented, I would say have a conversation with
Yeah.
yourself with love and
Yeah.
kindness. I mean, I have friends in our mastermind. I don't think you've met them yet, but our mastermind group, one of them has done a TED talk on, love your way to thin. He calls it something different, but you can't get there from here. Like you can't hate yourself to being thin. That won't work. And you do a diet, you're going to gain it right back.
Yeah.
Until you're coming from a place of
Yeah.
self-love, none of that's going to be long lasting. So it's the same way with gratitude. I'm loving myself on this day. And quite honestly, that the Gen Zs, we talk about this and we talk about practicing worthiness because, once whatever we practice, right? Whether it's the violin or
Hmm.
skiing or cooking or robbing
Hmm.
banks, we get better at it, right? And they think that somehow they think
Hmm.
same thing with
Hmm.
happiness. They come into the course thinking they don't leave that way, believe me. They come into the course thinking
Hmm.
that, somebody hit the happiness lottery or the worthiness lottery, or there's this fairy flying around in the middle of the night that drops worthiness pixie dust or happiness pixie dust. It doesn't work like that. You've got to you've got
Yeah.
to commit. You've got to commit and make effort and practice worthiness and practice happiness to turn this into the
Yeah.
Mindcraft lifestyle of living your best life.
Yeah.
It's very, very
Yeah.
just like mindfulness. It's an awake, alert, engaging lifestyle where you're engaged
Yeah.
with making deliberate decisions all day long that are in your best interest.
Yeah. So then, empathy. Are there
Love it.
ways to develop empathy, to increase empathy for
Oh,
oneself?
100%. Oh, toward yourself. Oh, you mean toward yourself or in
Yeah.
general?
Well,
Oh,
I think
yes. And
if
I'll tell
people
you,
don't have empathy for themselves, it might be more difficult to have empathy for others. That's my thought. So, how do
oh,
they
that's
get more
100%
empathetic with
right. So,
themselves?
yeah, it's so yes, because we cannot give what we don't have. That's just a thing. My dear friend Oprah, we're
Hmm.
besties. She just doesn't know. She's not aware. She talks about this a lot because it's our number one job to keep ourselves filled up, and that includes empathy, Steve. Because and Brene Brown does a lot with this whole thing too. But we practice Mindcraft. We have a routine. There's a minute of mindfulness followed by the gratitude go around where they share their what they're grateful for. And mindfulness, people
Hmm.
get confused that it's meditation, that you're sitting in a cave eating yogurt and zenning out. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with being present in the moment. As John Kabat-Zinn would say, present in the moment, I'm paraphrasing, non-judgmentally,
Hmm.
engaged in your life as if your life depended on it because it does. So the thing as far as
Hmm.
empathy is when we practice mindfulness and we talk about this through the course repeatedly, the non-judgment part of mindfulness is huge because forms of meditation, and those are all also good. There's walking ones and sitting ones and mountain ones and whatever, but those are largely about
Hmm.
creating a thought vacuum, whereas mindfulness isn't. The John Kabat-Zinn would say, my thoughts are like the waves in the ocean. Since we can't stop them, you may as
Hmm.
well learn to surf, right? And so what's
Hmm.
different
Hmm.
is somebody's
I
doing
love that.
meditation, along comes an
Hmm.
anxiety, an anxious thought like what if thinking or catastrophizing or overthinking or self-deprecating, not enough thoughts or whatever. rather than say, oh
Mm-hmm.
no, there goes my anxiety again. I can't even do this right. Then if it's not enough to have anxiety, now they're feeling badly about feeling badly. And it's this spiral down
Right.
of shame, and it's terrible. So rather than have all
Yeah.
that negative dialogue, what we say with mindfulness is, okay, I was attempting to be present, and there went an anxious thought. So what? Who cares? And welcome to the human race. And so when we can
Mm-hmm.
learn to be empathetic and non judgmental with ourselves, then we are therefore better able to give other people that same slack.
Yeah. That's great. Just such great practical ideas about how to change one's mind. And there's so much to unpack. I think that gratitude is so important, right? I get that, and to write it, I am grateful for, and then to look at, it's kind of like self observation. Which thoughts are you stuck in that are negative for more than 17 seconds, right? And to recognize you're programming something for the future, and then to be the picture the jockey on the horse that you're going to run your mind, and then to have empathy toward yourself so that I think, like you said, your self talk is improved by having empathy for self, and then setting the intention that I'm gonna succeed, or I'm going to bring success with me everywhere I go, because that involves others too. You're going to help others succeed.
100%. 100%. And
So
I
much
think it's
there.
also important,
So
Steve,
much there.
so when I'm saying that, I wasn't joking about, changing a granddaughter's diaper, like put into young adult or any life stage. Your listeners, I'm sure, all through the life stages. It means this even in the smallest ways, because we never know what battles other people are fighting. Right? We can be in a room with 10
Right.
people at a meeting and not have any idea what they're going through. So if we
What
bring
you're going
success to
through.
that meeting just by maybe supporting, not even knowing, but saying, I agree with so and so about ba ba ba, or like it doesn't have to be this monumental thing. It just means bringing success
Right.
to small things, right? And
Right.
also it doesn't have to
Right.
be that something's wrong. Like I was telling you about my friends tonight, just bringing all kind of
Mm-hmm.
positivity and funny, just humor gives people a lift. I think it's really,
Mm-hmm.
really important. And I'll tell you another thing with the Mindcrafters that I do, because they're so, again, I have the traditional Gen Z age. So they are very,
Yeah.
obviously it's a huge generalization, but the rumor's true. They're very, very anxious. So I say to them about
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness, you cannot do it wrong. And you can't be grateful wrong either. So you watch
Mm-hmm.
the weight just like lift out of them. And also when we do
Mm-hmm.
they also learn breathing techniques, and they'll say, "Did I do it right? Did I do it right?" Here's the thing: think about it from a larger perspective. You can't do it wrong. You even do it when you're sleeping, right? So this is just more intentional breathing. When I tell them to say to themselves, Steve, is even if you're starting to do okay with
Yeah.
being more present in your day, right? And being grateful. Then
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
you meet up with a couple of friends, somebody's negative, and you kind of fall off the horse a little bit. All you say,
Mm-hmm.
you start your day over. It can be 10:57 in the morning. First of all, start your day over. A couple hours goes by and you say, you
Mm-hmm.
know what? I've been more mindful the past hour than I was in the morning. And then you do a big go
Mm-hmm.
me. That's
Mm-hmm.
successful.
Mm-hmm.
If you are more present
Mm-hmm.
and less anxious in the last 15 minutes, and small wins,
Yeah.
we say this in the mastermind group a lot, small wins lead to big success.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is great, because there's been such practical advice. Now, the next thing I'm going to ask you is, how do people find you in Mindcraft?
How do they find me? Oh, you mean as the
Yeah. How do
course?
they get enrolled in the course? How do they find you online? Where do you want to
Oh,
direct people
nice.
to go?
I can give you, well, I can tell you, it's easy to remember. It's www.mind with a D,
Mm-hmm.
mindcraftuniversity.com. And I'll tell you, Steve, that after I had students, tell me that their parents were reading their books and doing, and involved in, doing some of their assignments for themselves. I actually created a Minecraft online course that's 6 weeks for anybody, any ages. It's ageless, and it has a lot of these strategies in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I will, I can give you the
And is
link if
that on the
to
university?
what?
Is that on the
That's
Mindcraft
on my website.
University, the link to that?
Yeah, they can go right in
Okay.
there and they can sign up for the course. It's $149. They can sign up for the course, and there's also there's a 1 hour webinar on there too. That's only $29.99.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously it's short. It's an hour, and that's
Mm-hmm.
specifically. I think it's called it's not me. It's OCT. So obsessive compulsive
Mm-hmm.
thinking. There's that, but all
Mm-hmm.
on the website. So I can. It's www.minecraftuniversity.com.
Mindcraftuniversity.com. And I got to tell you all out there that whoever's going to listen and see this, make sure you send it to friends, number one. Number two, make sure that you invest $129 in yourself if you find that your brain is trying to tell you your life isn't working or you feel sad or depressed. You'll leave with things that you can do that'll change your life. And I often say this to people I meet and they're talking about coaching and they'd never invest in coaching. I'll ask them, well, did you spend 20 grand at any point in time to update a bathroom or your kitchen? Yes. I said, okay. Did that get you a return in your house? Yes. Well, that's a one-time return. They got maybe $40,000 from a $20,000 investment. This $129 on Kimberly's course at mindcraftuniversity.com could get you hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime and maybe much more, because when you do change your thinking, things change. I have a quote that I love to use. It's in my emails, is that if you don't like your experience of the world, change how the world is experiencing you. And it could just be your views, the way you're looking at things. And you have to just give it some opportunity and do some of the exercises and follow what Kimberly's talking about. And please check out mindcraftuniversity.com, because I can tell you from talking to Kimberly, that we've chatted a few times and I've been a guest on her podcast, I'm always uplifted and it carries over. I remind myself, have my gratitudes, set my intentions, and be the driver. I'm the jockey of that horse called the mind. And every time I expand that thinking from beyond the acorn brain and remind myself that we live in a universe. I mean, we live in something probably smaller than this in relation to the size of the whole universe, right? The earth. We're living in a miracle and we forget it. And after all these years of doing this work, sometimes I forget it. But then I remind myself. And so mindcraftuniversity.com, bet your life on it. That's my recommendation. Thank you all. And Kimberly, thank you very much. I'm so grateful. I am grateful that we had this time together.
Well, thank you for having me, Steve. It was definitely it was an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much.
I'm honored and privileged that you took the time out. I'm very grateful for that you took the time out to spend with me on the podcast. All right, Kimberly. Thank you.